I've spent the week giving half the stations I picked the
sure
Eagles.
You have. Yeah.
Yeah, and half the stations I had picked the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And so on 50% of the stations across America, I will be right.
So when we used to do the March Madness and fill out all the sheets, I filled out like 20 sheets.
Of course.
And went because I wanted to win the cash.
Yes.
But you always have to have that one main sheet.
The main sheet.
Do you have a main pick?
I do have a main pick. I think the Eagles are going to win.
You do?
I just think, listen, I love Mahomes. I know how talented that team is, but I think the Eagles are the most balanced team. They have been the most balanced team. I think Jalen Hurts is exceptional.
Yep.
And Sirianni's proven to be, I think a lot of people question before the season, if they don't win, it's going to be because of Nick Sirianni. And I think what he's done is proven to be a very good head coach.
Well, he absolutely has.
Yes.
And people would ask me, when a coach like that gets the job, how is it in the beginning? Because it's a first-time head coach,
Right.
It's a young head coach, and who's never been a head coach. And they try and sell something to a team, and the trick is getting the team to buy it.
Correct.
Because they haven't been in that position. So you buy it warily, but what's the proving ground is you start to win.
Yes.
And then once you start to win, you say, okay, what he's selling is working, and that just builds upon itself, and that's exactly what he's done in Philly.
Mike, it's also this, and I'm not certain this actually happened within the Eagles locker room, but I think what buys you so much credibility is when you're looking at the film and you're telling your guys, hey, do this and we will win.
Right.
And then that's the coach giving you an advantage.
Right.
Go do this and you win. Go exploit this matchup
Right.
and we win. And once you do that once or twice and you have success
Yes.
doing it and you actually win, you're like, hey, that guy's invested in us.
That's exactly right.
He knows what the hell he's doing. And I
Yep.
think that happened with Sirianni.
It's exactly what happened with them. It's kind of like, when Alabama goes on their run, they win. Winning begets winning. You get the top recruits and you keep winning.
Right.
So you sell something and it works, and the players see it, because as we always say, the eye in the sky don't lie.
Yep.
It's working. So you're like, okay, I buy into what you got. So let's go. And they're the more complete team. I said this for the championship games.
Yeah.
The NFC is more complete than the AFC.
You did.
And they still are in the Super Bowl. Philadelphia is more complete than Kansas City, but you have Patrick Mahomes. And I think you have to start saying you have Patrick Mahomes and you have Chris Jones on defense,
right,
who is just
amazing.
Man.
Yeah, he's
wow.
amazing. But Patrick Mahomes, like that, I guess that kind of neutralizes it, for lack of a better term, Mike, because, yes, the Eagles have the better team, but the best players on the Chiefs, and sometimes the best player wins.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So the other question I got asked a lot this week is, which injury can prove to be worse for their team, Mahomes' ankle or Jalen's shoulder? And my answer there is Jalen's shoulder has to get hit.
Right.
Right? Pat just has to step wrong on one play.
Yes.
We saw that in the championship game, rolling left, throwing right, and he just kind of tweaked it. Yeah. So that can happen. And one play that happens, he's a little less mobile. It'll be interesting. And because already the pressure that Philly's going to apply, the ball's probably going to come out quicker. So I look for Isaiah Pacheco and Jared McKinnon, the two running backs. McKinnon, who had him at the beginning of the year as the running back with the most touchdown receptions? Yeah, I think he had 9 during the regular season.
And Pacheco runs hard.
Yes. So I think and hard and a 4.3.
Yeah.
So and the Eagles are a little susceptible to the run. So those two, I think, are going to be pretty intricate in this game.
It's interesting, Mike. I know you love Andy Reid. I do.
Yes.
And it's hard not to. But I wonder, since you know him so well, do you think this crosses his mind at all? Like, hey, I've gotten to a bunch of championship games, gotten to some Super Bowls, I've won one. I really need that second one to kind of solidify my place in NFL history as one of the all-time great head coaches. You might say to me, Mike, he's already a great head coach. I'd probably agree with you, but you know how we do these things.
Well, but here we are. So
Plenty of guys have won one.
He's a great head coach. He'll be listed as some of the top coaches all time. He's a Hall of Fame coach. But you know what? We're all human. Just like we talk about Aaron Rodgers knows he may up himself on the ladder if he gets a second Super Bowl.
Right.
We said that about Peyton until he won his second Super Bowl, right? So, yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you win it. Peyton had nothing to do with it.
Exactly right. So Andy Reid understands as a human, and he won't ever say it publicly, but I'm sure in a private moment he knows to be talked about with those greats, you have to use the word multiple. Multiple Super Bowls, like I said, but multiple wins. And he's in a position, and their window is in a position to be open for a while, but you got to close the deal.
Yes.
You got to win. So I agree with you, and I think in a private moment, like I said, publicly, he would never admit to that. Too good a guy and doesn't want the onus, the focus on himself. But in a private moment, I think he understands the relevance of that.
It puts you in the same conversation as Parcells,
Absolutely,
as
it does.
Don Shula, as all the all-time greats.
There's winning, and then there's you got to cross the finish line. Right?
Yes.
You could be second, you could be third, you could be fourth, you could be second, third, first one time, but you got to cross that finish line first a couple times.
Right. I'm trying to think of just like a random Brian Billick has won a Super Bowl. We haven't seen him since.
Right, it's exactly
which
right.
is really odd when you think about it.
You don't want to be cast in the group of people who have one.
Right.
One win.
Right.
You want to get multiple. Then your name starts crossing people's mind a little more.
Do you think Patrick Mahomes thinks the same thing, or is it like he's young, he's in it? You don't really. It's hard to have the foresight when you're kind of in it and that young, and he feels like he's going to get back to 10 more.
So there's
because Marino thought that once upon a time.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
There's layers to that. So what does Pat think of first? Does he think all the way of Brady? Or does he start with Montana, who has 4, but he was 4 for 4?
Right.
Just like Jordan was 6 for 6.
Yes.
There's something to getting there and never losing.
It's amazing.
That there's something too. That's something that, that we talk about in the GOAT conversation with LeBron,
yes.
which has come obviously into play again since he broke Kareem's scoring record.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, you're human.
Patrick knows.
It's not something you talk about publicly because it's such a team sport. But, it's set up for him more than anybody else now, right, of getting there and possibly getting wins. It's still way too long off to sit there and say, oh, boy, can he catch Brady? Let's let him get a couple of more before we start talking about that.
I'm not saying cashing Brady, but just it puts you in rarefied air.
Without
second
question.
one really
Yes,
puts you ahead of Aaron Rodgers. It just puts you in a different category.
Multiples always does. Completely agree.
It's amazing.